Good evening. Welcome to the pilot episode 3 of Dear Jenny. Now, you may wonder why I have my glasses on. Well, there's two reasons for that. Tonight's episode is one where I might need to look at your comments and read the screen, whether you're live or on the replay. And the second is because this is a serious matter. So, let me read today's question. Dear Jenny came about as a way that I incorporated one of my favourite things when I was growing up, and that's the Agony Aunt, with some stuff that you might need to know about being more seen, more heard and more visible. So I shall read the question, written on my colourful block. Dear Jenny, I struggle online. I suppose it's comparing myself to others and how often they're showing up. What can I do? Well, dear reader and dear watcher, this is quite a nasty, serious case, I'm afraid, of a disease I call comparisonitis. There's no other way to tell you that, apart from wearing my glasses to let you know. So that said, all I can do is let you know exactly what comparisonitis is. I'll let you know how you caught it, most likely, how you treat it, and also how you stop reinfection. And I will aim to do that in under 10 minutes. So without flapping my gums, let me begin. So comparisonitis is something that I have seen going on for years, for absolute years. And it's when we are full of good intentions and we look at what somebody's doing. We maybe admire what they're doing. We might even use it as ideas. Now let me explain something. Although this reader says that they struggle online, comparisonitis is actually quite an old disease, and it took quite a few decades before they found a name for it. But back in the day, probably when you and I were small, running around in short trousers and frilly skirts and highly polished shoes with buckles, and that's for the men and the women, it's likely that comparisonitis started off when people would literally look out of their front doors. Maybe they'd seen that Mrs. Jones further up the road had bigger dahlias than they had in their garden, or better tulips. And they would go in the house, having had a smile on their face, go in the house and they would feel very uncomfortable, quite miserable, maybe even crying to their cup of tea. Comparisonitis isn't just an online thing, but it seems to have blown up because we've got so much more access now to the world around us through the vision of a lens, whether it's a phone, whether it's a laptop, whether it's a computer, even a tablet. The world has become a very noisy place. So, comparisonitis started off as a way of people just literally looking out of their window, of their screen, sense checking what was going on around them, until they realised that actually now they're online and they get to see so many other people doing the same thing as them or something similar, and starting to wonder how they measure up to them. So here's how you catch comparisonitis. Number one, that well-intentioned looking at what someone else is doing and drawing inspiration from what they're doing, all of a sudden turns from being inspired by their work to, well, how can I do that? The other way you catch it is you maybe know what you want to say, but you might not have the tongue, the clarity, the articulation to say it. And you might not know which is the best way to say it. Do you say it live to a room full of people? Do you say it through speaking, networking, through video? Do you even say it through typing and writing? Maybe it's an ebook, a book, or something else like that. But when people come across this, it's often points to a symptom, which I'll come to in a moment. So we need to treat it, and we need to stop the reinfection, because reinfect it will. It's the nasty little critter. So how do you catch it, and what's the comparisonitis all about? The thing that I have discovered personally when working with my own clients, speaking to people in my tribe, speaking to peers, and even watching other people who have got much higher profiles than me and are out there like rocking it out in the world, the thing that I have found is that each of those people, including you have a voice. You found your voice. But instead of relying on that voice, you then start to look at the inspiration of others. Maybe it's Marie Forleo with her brick wall behind her, how she started originally. Maybe it's Gary Vaynerchuk with his F-bombs and his motivation and his slightly unnerving way of sounding slightly stressed while at the same time managing to motivate people. Maybe that's it. And you like what they say. So you decide, well, I'll borrow that for now and I'm just going to get it out there in the world. But here's the problem. And by the way, if you're watching this, I can see people hopping on and off. If you're watching this and you know there are other people that like this too, let them know that we're live and let them jump on now while we're here, because I'm not going to be here for long. So whether you are looking for inspiration, looking for guidance, comparisonitis will hit you when you stop looking for that inspiration, stop trying to get curious about how you're going to educate, and then start feeling less than. There's no simple way to say it. That's the moment that you catch comparisonitis. So here's what you do to treat it. You start to explore in your own way, in an authentic way, how to find your own voice. And even for those of you that are big into writing, you might be authors, bloggers, you might love posting on social media, you might even enjoy writing letters to your clients. That is your voice. It'll have a tone to it. There'll be mannerisms that you use that other people don't use. There'll be life experiences that you have that other people don't have. So use those and use them to your advantage, because that's actually what makes you different and what makes you stand out. The next thing to do, if you've caught it and it's too late, is to treat it. If you are looking at certain posts or are looking at networking or going to meet people, and you find there's not just the little fear or shyness of going into the room, but there's almost like a dread, oh, there's Mabel in the corner over there. She does my head in. Every time I speak to her, she's really negative. Then maybe that's your body's indication of a way that maybe Mabel and that group isn't the best group for you to be in. I hear it so much from clients that they're reading Facebook posts and they get really bored or tired of something that somebody is churning out. You have an option across any social media to unfollow, to stop looking, and that's okay. I'm sure they won't mind, and I'm sure that the person will rather that you spring into the joys of Facebook and other social media platforms and feel quite happy with the content that you're reading. So if you have that case of comparisonitis, treat it. Now, another way we can get comparisonitis is by stuffing our faces with everything that we see. And if your inbox has multiple subscriptions a day to lots of different people's email, newsletters and offers and things like that, you may have just crammed your head and your inbox a little bit too full, where now you can't see the wood for the trees. And a little symptom of that, if every time you open your mouth you find yourself saying, as so-and-so would say, then you're definitely too full and too crammed of their stuff. So that's how you treat it. So here's how you stop reinfection. You start to look at what you want to share and why. And now you're not too worried about what this person says about it or that person says about it. You find your flavour, you find your voice, you find your tongue, and you just say it in the way that you want to say it. And this includes being brave. It includes pulling up your big girl's pants, and it includes things like, if you're quirky, be quirky. If you are serious, be serious. And just for Francelise, here are my glasses, because I decided that I couldn't be too serious for more than a minute. And now I'll put them back on because I can read your comment very, very clearly. But the point is, Whoever you are, bring that to the camera, bring that to your posts, bring that to the networking event, even bring it to the stage, because there's only one you, and as the famous saying goes, everyone else is taken. And there's no way that you're going to stand out in a sea full of a gazillion people if you are trying to be like everybody else that you see. Be yourself, be clear, be concise, own your message, own your tongue, and get out there. It really is as simple as that, until something happens. I heard back from this reader after I gave them the very same advice, and they said, okay, I got rid of my nasty comparisonitis. I've got rid of it, I'm treated and I'm healthy. How do I stop the reinfection? I gave them the same answer that I've just given you. But then the next thing was, dear Jenny, you said be more of yourself, and I have a very sad admission to make. I don't know who I am anymore. Now that's the real underlying cause of being susceptible to comparisonitis. I hope you enjoyed this, dear Jenny. If you have, and if you've liked it or loved it, please share it with other people. I'm doing a little pilot this week, so I'm trying to monitor how many people watch this, not even live, but on the replay. And if it's something that you love, then I will do it some more. So let me know, give me your thoughts below. And if you've got a question for dear Jenny, then go up to the Queen of Being Seen page, have a look at the message box, hit the message box and ask your question. But start it with dear Jenny, just so that I know. Bye for now.